Well, hello there again. We are Grievance Total Gaming here. Now we're going to talk about the Dark Knight class for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. And so I have here again Dashivah, Steelheart, Memo with the right name. We got Nightangel right over here. And we're going to talk about the next class that has been released, the Dark Knight. And just to give a little lore description of what they have for us for the Dark Knight, it says, touched by the darkness that once consumed the universe, the Dark Knight is a formidable champion of evil whose battle prowess and unholy might instills fear within the bravest of warriors. Having trained in the dark arts recorded within the forbidden martial tome of Meraxus, these knights have exchanged their souls for the powers of the void to be used in their evil endeavors within the world of Terminus.
Wow. So dark.
Dark. I feel so dirty now.
One of the things I've been reading on some of the forums is, people having issues with, basically they've named the whole class evil, and this concept of good and evil in games is actually something that I kind of like in a game, but apparently I am not the majority there. Unless, what do you guys think?
Oh,
I like it.
I enjoy it because that's what we're used to, right? And old school MMOs, it's like we have Freeport and Kinos, or you have the Paladin
and Guardians
and the Shadow Knight.
Rift,
yeah. It's like, what's wrong with this?
I mean, here it is. In part of the description of the lore, Dark Knights adhere to the laws of their dark gods.
Yep.
Dark. Everything's just dark. And it's dark.
It's
Nights.
just dark.
Like, okay, we're going to talk about, first thing, we're going to talk about their armor. And what is their armor?
Dark plates.
Dark
plate.
Not just plate.
No, just
dark plate.
Dark plate. Dark plate.
So right away you think like black armor, like the Black Knight, or something menacing, evil, powerful. Yep. This is a warrior. This is looks like, judging by what they say about the weapons it uses, two-handed greatswords, long swords, shields, axes. This is something that could very well be a tank, or maybe even offensive damage dealer.
I mean, it also has the casting in there, because they have the stuff like that kind of sounds like they've mixed a little bit of a necromancer in there with it, because it can bring up. Didn't they say that it could bring up little summon sentries of shadow to protect and fight for them? So I mean, it's
very reminiscent to the Shadow Knight in
exactly.
EverQuest lore.
They're like necromancer and a tank
warrior.
Or a warrior.
Yeah.
Oh, Shadow Knight. But we'll call it
ability to heal themselves by draining health or energy from their opponents into themselves. Yeah. It's this is basically the Shadow Knight, really.
Yeah.
It fun class to play.
I didn't see anything about harm touch though. I don't know if
yeah, it's in here too. It's let me see if I can find it.
Avoid the touch of the Dark Knight.
Yes. Yes.
They say the hand.
They use dark magic to instill fear, inflict pain, and raise the dead to serve them. Yes. They're notorious for siphoning energies and life force from their enemies, causing great weakness while strengthening themselves. That's basically what that is.
Yep, the Shadow Knight. But for Pantheon, it is the Dark Knight. And so when we talk about them blending their shadows, camouflage, necromancers, what do we think?
Yeah, I'm curious about that, where it says it's blending into the shadows with the camouflage and whatnot. Well, that's what I think of as camouflage, not necessarily stealth, but I'm curious on how that would work.
They are so dark. They blend
they just blend in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a new spin on it, or I never played a Shadow Knight in any of the previous type games, so it's kind of do they have the ability to like walk in shadows? Is it like a hide that other players or mobs may not be able to see you, kind of like we've seen in some other games? It's definitely there for a reason, blend in the shadows. So it's some ability specific to the Dark Knight, I would guess. Yeah. Obviously.
But it's interesting though that they would put that on a tankish type class. because they are supposed to be on the front line.
Yeah.
But maybe it's more like a blind of some sort. Maybe.
Well, like when I think of like the Shadow Knight and everything, they've never been like a full blunt force kind of.
Right.
Like they use their abilities to make up for what they can't take in getting hit, right? And so maybe this blending in the shadows, or maybe dodging, or being a more agile kind of tank.
I'm thinking more off tank, or even like a DPS class as well.
Or if you have an
because
awesome
of the
cleric.
damage dealing, the damage dealing they do. It doesn't sound like anything that they've mentioned there per se is a taunt. It seems mostly damage focus, and with some stealth mixed in.
They're gonna hold their
but
damage.
still, I mean, you need as a true tank class, you have to have those taunts in there. Just using the aggro to hold isn't usually enough, because you have spiked DPS characters that will pull that off you in a heartbeat without a taunt.
Yeah. And we're still not sure how the combat's gonna
work,
right? So,
it's all speculation.
Yeah,
at this point.
we're just assuming it's gonna be like old school, but we could be. I don't know.
I was excited to see spears and lances. You don't see too many of that in games anymore, and I really liked classes like that. I know in Dark Age of Camelot I had a spear hero. That was one of my favorites. So I was glad to see the big pole arms back.
Yeah. And for some reason, it just seems different with the Dark Knight wielding these kind of weapons. Like, it almost seems like that would make them seem like a more agile kind of class with the polearm or the spear or something like that. And so that's how maybe that's their two things that they could be. They could either be a tank with the plate armor and the great sword or shield and everything, but then they could be that blend in the shadows, kind of like almost like a stealthy assassin with a spear.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I definitely think this is going to at least have the ability to be a tanking class. If you look at the list of the classes, professions that have been listed on the Kickstarter site, the only two that actually sound like they could possibly be a tanking class is the Dark Knight, and then I think the next reveal is going to be the Crusader, which would be the polar opposite of the Dark Knight. So I'd hazard a guess that even if these aren't 100% supposed to be tanks, or let me rephrase that, even if you have the ability to be DPS or tank like in some games, I think that you're looking at not necessarily an off tank unless there's a way to spec it that way, that this can be a full tank. Because I'm assuming the Crusader is going to be also.
Yeah, well, also it says, later on there, how about avoiding the touch, because it lead to a hateful curse, agonizing pain, or death. That right there could be a kind of a taunt. I mean, that could be something they would use as a taunt to enemies, hateful curse.
I'd like to imagine it as harm touch. Just
or the harm touch that Shadow Knights had in EverQuest.
That one epic ability that just sometimes epic, sometimes nerfed.
Yeah, but a lot of these abilities they're talking about, like we'll just call it the harm touch. The harm touch, the ability to, drain energy or whatever. All those, from a tanking point of view, are aggro generators.
Yeah.
They're in addition to whatever taunts you may have or damage you're doing. These are also aggro generators that help a tank maintain aggro on the mob, so it doesn't run and go kill, the cleric.
Keep Memo alive.
We don't want to see Memo running in a perfect circle.
Memo will be up there in his plate armor. It's Dash we're going to have to keep alive.
I'll keep all of y'all alive.
But it mentions siphoning energy, displaced disease, and so can we imagine again when a game where resistances matter, like remember having disease and ice and fire.
You had to clear them, or your tanks would go down. Plain and simple.
I think resist are going to, based on the article about climatization again, or acclimation, climate acclimation. I think that resist are going to be very important in this game in one way or another. So this may be another class that provides a buff against maybe poisons or some type of other thing, or be able to even cure them to a point.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Who knows? Well, all speculation, right?
All speculation.
We don't know too much about the Dark Knight, and even this this screenshot is speculation, or this art is speculation, right? We don't know. We don't know if this is the Dark Knight or not, but we know it is art.
Dark.
Yeah.
It's dark and it's purple.
We know it.
I
Yeah.
like it.
We know it's art from Pantheon, but we just don't know what it's art of. But it seems like it could be, right?
It could be. It's
He's holding the sword.
sword and some type of mystical whip of some sort, or
Yeah.
actually it looks
it's a
that looks
purple
like
smoke
something
bomb.
he's holding is draining from the I guess that's an
Siphoning.
orc siphoning. There's your siphon right there somehow, some way. So yeah, I would say we're probably possibly looking at the Dark Knight right there.
Yeah.
No,
like-
he's got a ranged weapon on his back. He's got a crossbow.
Oh yeah, good point.
Uh-oh.
There you go.
Maybe it's not.
That throws a wrench in there.
Yeah.
Not
well-
really. All the warriors,
Yeah.
a lot of the tanking classes in Vanguard
yeah.
and in
EverQuest.
EverQuest 1 and 2
You had a range
Yep.
could use a bow.
just to pull.
You had to pull.
To
Yep.
pull.
Yep.
Get them
It
off
was
away from the
great to
aggros.
pull with.
Yeah.
Used
Yeah.
to love bow pulling.
But how epic is that? He's just like, I just killed this big monster and it's probably still dying, but I'm gonna pause for this
I'm gonna
epic
finish
pose.
him off.
Pause for this epic photo. In the
Yeah.
meanwhile, he's got that look like
Yeah.
next.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
bring it.
Yep.
Bring
I am the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
So
love it.
that was just our quick overview of the Dark Knight class and just our speculation of what it could be. I'm sure we'll find out more information as the weeks and the months go by and as they keep releasing more on other classes. Make sure to watch our videos on just our quick discussions on these classes and make sure to keep up with us. And right now we'll still do our once a week cast just talking about everything in the game, but we're also going to have these little videos just quickly discussing these classes. But thanks for watching. We're Grievance Total Gaming. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and on Facebook and YouTube, and just click like and subscribe and do everything that you can, right?
And don't
Follow.
forget, most importantly, make
Go.
sure to go to Kickstarter and
Yes.
go to Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, and pledge
Back
some
it.
money to this. We are a quarter of the way there. This game is going to be a very popular game and very awesome game. I know that, you know, from reading it, Brad has put his heart and soul into this, and we're trying to judge some interest right now. So get out there, pledge, help us kickstart this, and catch us Sunday night, 8 p.m. CST, for our live in-depth cast of whatever news is put out over the next week.
All right.
Grievance wants a guild in this game. Pledge.
Yes.
That's
please.
right.
Alright.
We all have a lot of faith in Brad and his game. So,
Yep.
go there, show that you do as well.
Yep.
Memo wants his cleric.
There we go.
Yes, I
That's
want my
right.
cleric. I've been
Yeah.
waiting for this cleric.
I know. I'm gonna be the healer. Memo will be the
I may be the bard.
DPS
I
healer.
do like my bards.
Yeah.
So
Or-
that
I know.
bard.
We
Bard
need
is
more
a
money
stretch
for the
goal.
bard.
Game
More
that
money for
you
the
can
bard.
actually tank in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone, and
Night
we'll
all.
see you through the videos.
Good night.